So there has been some interviews with Daisuke, and I wanted to give my thoughts on the things that he says as a new player of Guilty Gear. I've been playing Guilty Gear Xrd for a week now, I think, and there's already a video about this kind of thing, about this interview that is on the screen right now, made by Sagem, where he goes through all the questions that are in this interview. The link is in the description below and in the comment section. So I'm just gonna go through the questions that are more interesting to me, because I've already went through this article. I just want to give my opinion on what I think about all of these things. So the first question is pretty interesting in my opinion. You've been working on Guilty Gear for over 20 years as the original creator. Can you talk about what the game means to you now? What keeps it fresh and interesting to you as a creator? For me, and this is going to be kind of fighting games in general, I think Guilty Gear is definitely part of that. In the PlayStation 1 era, it was really kind of an extension of action game, and in fact internally we would call games like fighting games what we know of them as now more of like a battle tool. That's an interesting name. It's like a tool, a programming tool, specifically for the battle portion of something. But nowadays, I really feel fighting games have turned into a tool to connect people and make friends. So, like here, the reason I am able to come to the US right now, we have people from around the world gathered here, trying to make friends and building community. I think it's a tool to connect people, especially with the internet and networks evolving the way they have. So that's kind of what I think keeps it fresh for me. Okay, so that's an interesting answer, and I specifically like the fact that he says connect people, tool to connect people, and he also talks about the internet and the networks. So that's really interesting to me, because in my previous video I was talking about that, the aspect that he wants the game to connect people, to unify people, and obviously the online aspect of any game is super important nowadays. Everything is made online, so and that will immediately connect to the question about the rollback netcode, and he talked about it in this article as well. And in general what he says is that him and the team are discussing about that. They are trying to find a way to they are trying to know if it's even possible to implement it in the new Guilty Gear. And something that is worrying is that he says that apparently, according to his team, in a game like Street Fighter, the rollback netcode would work, but in a game like Guilty Gear, it might not work. It might be too difficult to implement in the game. So that's a strange way to talk about it, because I'm pretty sure that even Street Fighter doesn't have the best netcode. I'm pretty sure of that. So I don't know how things will go when it goes to rollback netcode, but I feel like maybe we should get prepared that, it's not really gonna be a thing. So I would even say that if they really have to implement it and it takes one more year to do, man, they might as well just delay the game, in my opinion, because honestly, Guilty Gear thrive with rollback netcode, in my opinion. Even if it comes in 2021, I think it's more worth than any other fighting games that would come out without a good netcode, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it. But aside of that, when he says that he wants to connect people with the way the internet and the networks have evolved, the online environment is very important, and I've talked about it in my previous video. I've shown an example of how they can make a very interesting online environment where people can interact together instead of being stuck in Discord servers, because that's a huge thing going on in fighting games. You always have to be in a Discord, and that kind of sucks. Having something like being able to train with other people online not necessarily fight them, just train, chat with them as you're training with them. Things like that are going to be super important. Having the ability to, you know, just chat with people in general is good. That's a good thing, because that's something that you don't do in fighting games at all. Like, I'll start Tekken, I go in, search for a fight, bam, I get a fight, finish the fight, wait for the other fight. No interactions at all whatsoever. So it's an interesting thing that he says he wants to connect people with that, but it will really depend on what he's trying, like how the game is structured for that to be a thing. Now you have these two questions. Okay, so I don't think they're going to necessarily throw all the older characters. There's definitely a lot of, I think, how can I say, iconic Guilty Gear characters. I'm pretty sure they have their own roster of that. But when it comes to the thing that he says about this whole thing, about this whole section, basically what he's trying to say is that the idea of the new Guilty Gear is that he wants people to re-explore their characters. Like he wants the characters to feel new, to have things that they didn't used to do before. But there's a sentence in here, like there's a reply that he gives that is very worrying to me. And he says Ryu was kind of really based around his Shoryuken, so the idea is, well, what if we take that away from his toolkit? And I'm sure most of the conversation would be, no, it's impossible, etc. But at least posing those questions and seeing what they might lead to is kind of the process we're going through. So he wants people to feel a bit lost with their characters. It is very risky. It's a very risky thing to do, because the way things are said here, I don't know if it's because of the translation, because this thing is translated, but the way this thing is phrased, it sounds like they're just taking away stuff from the characters, and it doesn't really give the idea that they are adding more to them. A lot of people right now they don't like the new Guilty Gear, like the older players, and he talks about it in this article. He says that he knows that people are not too happy with the changes, but the thing is, people want to see new stuff, right? Like, if the game changes and all, obviously people are not gonna be pleased immediately. They have to play the game actually to feel the changes, to feel how to know how it feels and all. There's nothing that seems new, and when I say nothing that seems new, it needs to be something that is noticeable. For example, if Soul has a brand new move that we've never seen in any other Guilty Gear, that's the thing that I'm talking about. Because they've tweaked some of the moves that exist before, but they are not new. You know, Bandit Revolver is still Bandit Revolver, Bandit Bringer is still Bandit Bringer. Yes, you can do it in the air now, but it's still Bandit Bringer, you know. But where's the new stuff, you know? Where's the brand new move? Where are they? That's what people want to see. Especially if you're going to take something away, you might as well add something new. And that's something that I think so far the new Guilty Gear hasn't done well. Even though I'm really excited about it and I'm really liking the way it's coming out, that's the only concern I actually have with the game. Because the more you have in a character, the more moves they have, the more people can do with them, and it creates a lot of different play styles. It creates a lot of different situations that you can have. Like with the RC system, they took away things like air combat and long combos, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they need to add now things to compensate for what they've removed from the characters. Because yes, you want the characters to feel new, you might as well add that. So now you have this topic, the high level concept, to make it look easy, make it easier to spectate, but by no means does that mean that we are shaving away the level of depth. This is something that has been concerning a lot of people, like a lot of them, level of depth. That's something that a lot of people talk about. But let's talk about what Daisuke says here. Because, you know, if I was a long time player who was worried that the game is changing too much, what would you say to me? I think he says, I think in a lot of interviews and when we speak with the public, the words simple, simplified, or accessibility have been tossed around a lot. That's not necessarily the intent of the development team. I think it's just the limited language and vocabulary that exists. The only way that we are able to describe what is actually going on. So the high level concept is to make it look easy, make it easier to spectate, but by no means does that mean we are shaving away level of depth. That's not our solution to make it easier to watch. That's a big topic of discussion for the development team. Okay, so the translation is completely fucked in this part, but it's okay. So pretty much, yeah, he says that it's not about simplifying the game and stuff. This answer, man, I've been saying this a lot. It's super 50-50. It's like, I feel like it's true. Obviously, they're changing the game. They're changing for the overall way you play the game. But at the same time, they are definitely simplifying things. Like, 100% simplifying things. You can see it by just looking at it. You don't even need to be a Guilty Gear player. But at the same time, that's also what makes people like. It makes people very interested in Guilty Gear right now. Like, there's a lot of people who are like, I've never played Guilty Gear, but this one seems fun and all. A lot of people are very interested in that. Yes, because of the graphics. Yes, because the character looks cool and all. But I'm also sure that the simplified stuff is it has an effect, in my opinion. It always has an effect. Now it doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean they have to dumb down their characters to the point where everything becomes boring. But I think there's definitely still a certain level of depth. So now there's another super cool question. To follow that up, if I'm a new player, not a Guilty Gear player, that's me, what's your pitch to me? Why should I play your game? Personally, I would give my answer first. If I'm now interested in Guilty Gear, it's because game looks freaking awesome, first of all, but to me, graphics have never been important in any freaking video game. Like, there's a lot of games that look cool, that look really awesome today. Like, in this day and age, there's a lot of games that look freaking awesome, but it's not enough to me. And Exert, I've always thought Exert looked cool, but the reason why I've never played Guilty Gear is because I'm not a hardcore player. Like, Guilty Gear is a hardcore fighting game for hardcore player only, but it's also an anime game, right? And to me, when I play video games, I play for fun. I do dumb stuff every time, and I just want to do dumb stuff, you know, dumb things. I don't want to just want to fool around. That's why when I play Tekken, I don't care about my rank really. I even got demoted the other day from Suzaku to Seiryu. That kind of sucks. I was almost out of red rank and I got demoted, but I don't play them for the rank. I don't play them to be super good. Obviously getting good is fun, so skill, like reaching a new level of skill in the skill ceiling, it's super fun. Like, it's always fun to get better, but at the same time, I'm not really playing for fun at all, for that. I'm playing to just fool around with Yoshimitsu. That's all that matters to me. So the new Guilty Gear looks super simple to play compared to Exert, and that's why I'm more interested in it. Now it's really gonna depend on where they put the level of depth. It's really gonna depend where they want the players to get focused more, you know. That's what's interesting to me with the new Guilty Gear. I'm really kind of curious on what they are going to do with it. So here's Daisuke's answer to this. Because we are dealing with a video game, I believe that it's impossible to convince someone or pitch someone strictly verbally to bring them onto the side of playing Guilty Gear. True. There's no way you will ever convince anyone to be like, yo dude, you should play Guilty Gear. They're gonna be like, what the hell is that fighting game? Hell no, dude. I don't think there's any amount of explanation of pitches that's going to work. My suggestion would be, as they walk past, they see the gameplay and they'll want to play it. I think that's the other side of Arc System works, and how we made them, would fail in that department. Okay. So basically saying that he just wants people to look at the game and feel like, hey man, I want to play this game, looks cool, you know, looks cool, looks fun. Okay, especially because it's okay, that's what it was, especially because of its overly complex. The HUD is overwhelming, you can't tell what's happening on the screen, and a large part of our current development philosophy is simplifying it for the spectator. Interesting. Making it look really fun. And that's the thing. I think it's going to attract players. True. If a game looks fun to play, it's gonna attract players, obviously. Like, that's for sure. And the new Guilty Gear looks super fun, dude. It looks super fun. A lot of people are like, oh man, it looks so dumbed down and so boring. But it's only gonna look dumbed down and so boring if you're a Guilty Gear player. It's not just about looking at the gameplay. It's also about what is on the screen. For example, something that I said in my previous video, things like characters' colors are very interesting. If they use them well, it can make this Guilty Gear cool. Because you have a character like Chip, I mean, I'm sure they can work, they can do something about this. Like with Chip, if they use these colors for Chip, that's a way to already captivate the interest of the spectator. Like, you get their attention like this. With this kind of details, it's very important. Like, if you have a color that represents an iconic character in a game, it's good, it's really good, because Naruto fans, they're everywhere, man. There's so many of them. You'll see a Chip with these colors, you're gonna be like, oh, this guy kind of looks like Sasuke, doesn't he? He's a ninja. That's a plus. They play the game and they're like, okay, they look at Chip, they search in his color, it's not there. They go into gallery and they're like, oh, it's in the customization for my character, huh? And you see Sasuke's color in the color palette, but it's locked. It's like unlocked by completing arcade mode with Chip. Alright, they're gonna play Chip, they're gonna learn Chip, they're gonna get used to Chip, and they're gonna get used to the game by playing the arcade mode in general. So that's already a way to get the attention of someone to play the game. But yeah, a game that looks fun to play, for sure, man. It's gonna be cool. Everyone wants that, and they've already succeeded in this part. This is already a success. It's already working. A lot of people are interested in the new Guilty Gear, for sure. Okay, so this is another cool question that I think we should look at. Not just Guilty Gear. You've been thinking about fighting games for 20 years. Artstation is also making games like Grand Blue and Dragon Ball FighterZ. How do you get more people to not be scared of fighting games? I've said this. There's a myth around fighting games that fighting games are too difficult to play, and that they are kind of too competitive and too challenging. And people don't necessarily want to play fighting games like for that reason. They don't necessarily want to play fighting games and be like, oh man, this game is super competitive and stuff. Like, they want to play for fun. Even competitive games like Overwatch, League of Legends, people play them for fun. They don't necessarily play them to be the best. It's just a way also to spend time with friends and all. It's just cool, you know. And fighting games, this is something I've said so far. They really put a lot of emphasis on the competitive aspect. But here's what Daisuke has to say. I think there are a lot of people who just by looking at a game, with it being a fighting game, will say, nah, I don't do fighting games. You really can't explain it to someone and expect them to want to play something. It's kind of related to the previous question as well. Yes, my job is to show people that it's accessible. Thank you. You need to show to people that that fighting games are easy to play. You need, because they're no, in my opinion, fighting games are not difficult to play that much. Like Guilty Gear is difficult to play. Like, don't get me wrong, it's difficult to play. But a game like Tekken, yes, it's a very complex game. It's actually a really complex game. But the only part that sucks with Tekken is that they don't teach you too well how to play. But when it comes to playing the game itself, feeling the controls, feeling the mechanics, things feel very easy. You can play versus a person and it's fine. You feel like you're not being overwhelmed by a bunch of things. In Guilty Gear, on the other hand, when I started playing, I was like, okay, in the training room and all, it's fun. But as soon as I fight someone, there's so much stuff going on in a fraction of seconds. It's like, okay, man, I should be real. Like you cannot even play Guilty Gear slowly. You cannot have the approach with the patience, in mind. It doesn't work. But the other thing is, it's like, oh well, I think I could do what that guy just did on the screen. So while they're spectating, give them the perception of that, oh, it's more possible than I thought it was. So this part that he says, it's kind of, I feel 50-50 about this, because there's something else that he says. And it's about, I'm pretty sure they start talking about the Daigo parry somewhere. Yeah, right there. The part that kind of scares me is that, for example, the Daigo parry and all, he talks about it like that. And he says that it feels, he says that he wants things to be easy to spectate. And he wants people to think like, oh, this is more possible than I thought it was. It's a bit worrying when you read about Daigo parry and he says something like this, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Capcom tried to do this with the Daigo parry. They tried to simplify it, I believe, and it kind of screwed things up a little bit, and now people hate Street Fighter because of that kind of thing. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think that's what happened, right? So you don't want, because you don't want to have everyone being able to be Daigo. Like Daigo is Daigo, and someone else will be someone else. Justin is Justin, and Daigo is Daigo. And that's the same kind of thing in Tekken. You don't want, for example, iMusician. I love iMusician. I'm a Yoshimitsu player. I watch him, and I think he's awesome. But there's also players like Kanen Trench, who has his own playstyle with Yoshimitsu that I really like as well. But do I want to be like them? Do I want to be able to do the same things? Not really. I just like watching them because they remind me that Yoshimitsu is a great character in a great game. That's why I watch them. But I don't want to be able to do the same thing as them necessarily, because that would suck. They worked really hard in order to do that, and now I'm just like stealing. It's like tracing when you draw. Tracing is a horrible thing to do, I think, as an artist. So that's the kind of thing I feel like they should be really, really careful with. Like I said, so he wants the overall game to be easy to watch, easy to spectate. But he's not saying that the game would necessarily be like easy to play necessarily, or have no depth. The game will have depth apparently, and I can tell the new Guilty Gear does have a certain level of depth. It looks like the only issue is my only concern is definitely going to be the characters tools that are missing. Also on the part where he says that he wants new players to get in the game, new players to be interested when they look at the game. So I think they just need to do other things other than just focusing on the competitive aspect, in my opinion. Obviously, like I said, the game looks fine. I think the game is coming out really fine. Things are looking pretty good. It's just the character tools, the online that is worrying, and the things like the casual content and stuff. It's all that stuff that they need to look at. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna do a good job. I feel like they're gonna do a good job. And like say, even if they have to delay the game just for things like rollback netcode, they should do it. They should definitely do it, in my opinion. Anyways, been rambling a lot for almost an hour, so I'm tired. So thank you all so much for watching. You can leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, also maybe follow me on Twitter when I draw some stuff and all. I post some of my video as well. Yeah, gonna see you in another video. Bye bye.